it's Angela here again in the chicken coop. So today I want to talk to you about cherries. A friend of ours had given us a case of cherries. And I thought, what am I going to do with all of these cherries? So my husband and I pitted all those cherries. I mean, tons of cherries. Well, then I started looking up recipes of what to do with cherries. So I made a recipe of drunk cherries. And so I did that, and that has a simple syrup with vanilla, some Grand Marnier, and bourbon. And you put that over the cherries, and they let them sit. And of course, that's why they're called drunk cherries. Then my husband's like, well, you can't just use those cherries. We got to do something for the kids. They can't be eating those drunk cherries. So I used the simple syrup recipe. Was so good. It was like a simple syrup but had vanilla in it. And so I canned some jars of cherries with just that simple syrup over them. And boy, is that good. It tastes like an old-fashioned Dr. Pepper, y'all, like you used to get at the soda fountains. It is good. That juice is awesome in there. Of course, eating the cherries is good too. So I was able to give some of that to my grandbabies, and I have some here stored too. And I've given away to some friends and given away some of the drunk cherries to my friends. Well, then, so I got all those completed. I thought, good. I didn't waste any of those cherries that had been given to me. And lo and behold, I get 5 more bags he brings me. Of course, I don't let anything go to waste around here at the Chicken Coop Homestead, so I'm thinking, now what am I going to do with these cherries? So I got on YouTube, faithful, trusty YouTube, and I found a recipe to make cherry wine. The two people, they have basically the exact same recipe, and one says this is his recipe. One is from Papaw, Doing It Cheap, winemaking, Papaw. Then I had seen it on Texas Prepper 2, TP2, on his channel. And so he had referred to this as Papaw's recipe on Doing It Cheap. So I said, well, if those two are the ones that suggested it, that's the recipe for me, because I like it simple and I like it easy. So anyways, I had this. Now they called for using juice, a jar of juice just like this. Well, I have juice, but I needed to use up these cherries. So I had just about drank all of this juice. I mean, just had a little bit in the jug here. So I poured that off, and I said, I'm going to kind of do this. Also, another channel that I watch that does a lot of winemaking is Rain Country. So I kind of did a combination of Rain Country, TP2, and Pawpaw's recipe. So what I did is I processed all those cherries. I got my mother-in-law's press out, and my husband and I pressed out all those cherries. Of course, we pitted them and pressed them out, and then and had the juice. Well, then I also put the mash, because it just seemed very wet still. I put that through my food processor and chopped it up, and then I put it through a strainer and let that sit and drip for a while. So believe it or not, when I finished all of that, and it was 5 bags of cherries, when I finished all that, I had exactly 1.5 quarts of juice, which is exactly what you need to do Papaw's recipe. So his recipe, the original recipe is you would take a bottle of juice like this. This is a 2 quarts of juice, so it's got 8 cups of liquid in it, okay? So 8 cups is in here. So what you would normally do is pour off 2 cups, which is 1/2 quart, which would leave you 1.5 quarts, okay? So that is exactly what I had in my juice. So I poured my juice into this jug, okay? So I had 1.5 quarts of juice in this jug. Then I just followed TP2, Papaw's recipe, and you use 1 cup of sugar to 1 quart. So because I have 1.5 quarts in here, I added 1.5 quarts of sugar. Then, if you look at Papaw's recipe, he kind of changes it up a little bit. He says a 1/4 of a teaspoon for each quart. So I have 1.5 quarts here. So I used a 1/4 of a teaspoon and then 1/2 of a 1/4, okay? I know that sounds weird, but also in some of his videos, he just says you go ahead and use a 1/2 a teaspoon of yeast. Just regular bread maker's yeast. So that's what I did. And then you put the lid on it. You tighten down the lid and you shake. And you shake up all that sugar till it's all dissolved, okay? So now you have the juice, the sugar, and the yeast in this jug, okay? But you have the lid tightened down. Well, what you do is you loosen that lid just enough so that when you go like this, see that lid raise up? That's going to let the CO2 gas that gets created from this juice go over and expand. You can use one of those glass tube things, the airlocks, if you want to, but this is the easiest way. If you don't have any equipment, you can just do it in this jug right here. And I thought that was so ingenious. Of course, now I'm thinking I'm going to be into wine making. I don't even drink wine, but I might like this kind of wine because it's supposed to be really good and sweet. I don't like dry wine. It's like eating a persimmon or something, or unripe persimmon. So anyways, I've made me up some wine. Of course, it had some pulp in it because mine wasn't just straight juice. So there's some pulp on top and it's fizzing. It's bubbling a little bit. And boy, does it smell yeasty. When you push on that, oh, it smells like something's happening. You'll know when I'm that good earthy, yeasty smell, but kind of sweet. It smells good. So then you're supposed to put this, you can put it on a little tray. I have a little tray here. Just fit this little bottle real good, just in case it overflows, like it gets too much going, it overflows so it won't make a mess. And you put it someplace in your house that's kind of a constant temperature. You know, most houses are 73, 74, 75 degrees, which is perfect temperature for making wine. So you just put this in a cool, dark place. I kind of got mine sitting on my counter, but I've got a dish towel hanging on over it, thick dish towel. So I can kind of keep an eye on it. I want to kind of watch this process since it's my first time to make it. So, and you let it sit there for 30 days. And Papaw says when it's done, you won't have any more bubbling, and it'll just be like flat, just like a cup of coffee. And then you know it's done. Now me, because I have some sludge in here just from my juice, I did not strain my juice. I mean, I strained it through a sieve, but I didn't strain it through like a cheesecloth. That I'm probably going to have to strain mine. But normally, any kind of yeast or residual stuff, all that debris will be at the bottom when it's done. It'll all sink to the bottom. And you can, if you're real careful, you could pour this off, or you could siphon it off and save your wine. But they say it's really good. I've read so many of the comments off Papaw's video and TP2, Texas Prepper 2 video, that it is really got good reviews. So hopefully I started this on the 16th, June 16th. So we'll come back to this and see how it tastes in a month. And I'll let y'all know. If I've totally messed it up with my fresh cherries, if I have, I will try this again, I promise you, because I think this is a good recipe, and to have that many reviews and have that many comments and everybody was successful and everybody liked it, it must be a good thing. And they also talk about how cheap it is. I get this is Old Orchard juice, and sometimes they have it at the Dollar Tree back when it was $1. Now it's $1.25, but that's still cheap. This is such good juice. It is awesome juice. Now this one, I think it says it's healthy balanced, it's diabetic, but that's not what I use because I use my own cherry juice. You couldn't use diet juice, you need to use 100% juice. That was one thing they did talk about. It needs to be 100% juice. But this Old Orchard, if you can get it at your Dollar Tree, it is a really good juice. And they have all sorts of different flavors. So you think about it, if you did this and I paid $1.25 for it, I probably got $1 or so worth of sugar, maybe not even that much in there, about 70 cents of sugar. And then just a few pennies of yeast, you know, just a half a teaspoon of yeast in here, and then you get wine in 30 days. That's pretty cheap. So I'm not a wine drinker, but you know, I might be, especially if the poop hits the fan like it's going. We might all need to be. No, I just laugh. I'm really not. I've hardly ever drank, maybe once or twice a year. Anyways, I just wanted to share this with you. This is a new endeavor here at the Chicken Coop Homestead, and I will keep y'all posted. Thanks for visiting with me, and y'all go check out Papaw and Texas Prepper 2's recipe and see if what I told you is right. Thanks for visiting with me. Bye-bye.